Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Getting myself settled for a fantastic afternoon. Hope you are as well. Tom and Tolly here, bringing you the Dynamite Desk here. And as we get ready for European action, it's all ahead of us.
It's a bright, sunny Thursday day, and the first two teams that we're going to see rival against SK Gaming should be a little spicy, considering that there's some ups and downs in their previous matches.
And then later on, we're going to visit Dignitas and Obey, which should definitely be a tight one to watch. But right now, let's take a look at the year as a whole. Should be an interesting look, because right now we're in the summertime. And that's going to end up with a LAN. And we're going to take a brief break before the fall split for All-Stars, which is one of my favorite events. And then later on, the placement round, which of course will lead us right to the Smite World Championship, which is otherwise known as HRX.
Get your tickets now on hi-rezexpo.com. Put away the jackets because it's not as cold as it was in January.
Still bring the jackets. It's still fall. But
light sweater.
Sure, yeah, it's hoodie season in Atlanta in November. So certainly something you want to be aware of. It's, 16th through the 18th, DreamHack. You get tickets. You not only get to watch Smite, you get to watch all of the action that's there. Tons of different games. Not just hi-rez. Paladins is there as well, along with the console stuff, but a slew of different esports titles. DreamHack is a really big deal.
It's going to be a good stuff to, explore things around with other teams, other players, get a chance to meet us, the casters as well. Come say hi.
As for this summer, though, different things on the way as we zoom in to our schedule for basically what goes on here. So Monday through Friday, we've got action all across the board. Monday is more of a console day. We've got SPL later on. But the big deal for me personally is Esports Weekly. It's bright and early at 10 a.m., and we have a lot of fun on that show.
A lot of shenanigans for sure that I'm a part of. We're both a part of, actually.
Yeah, I mean, you have your own nonsense. Just as a little tidbit of what that's like, we listened to the predictions for the upcoming Esports Week, and last week we also happened to wax Anatoly's chest live on camera. Moving on, we are doing some of the European games today, so let's take a look at the standings real quick and see where all these teams land, or start rather, and Obey up on top.
So far, so good for the boys out of Obey Alliance finding some of their victories, but can't say the same about SK Gaming that struggled against Mouse, struggled against Obey. Rival on the flip side, surprisingly losing to Energy, considering that they've consistently beat them in the past, lost to Dignitas, but found a victory against Mouse, putting them at 1 win and 2 losses.
Yeah, a couple of different things going on here. Obey kind of turning up here early. Obey versus Dignitas will be a good litmus test to see how real this Obey Alliance team actually is. My money is that they are very real.
It's definitely true that Obey can hang with the best of them, but Dignitas can sometimes get in their own heads every now and then. They're set against Energy when they tried to commit all in on the Titan, similar way that they tried against Rival in the LAN was not a good look. We'll see if Dignitas can shake that off in their set.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit tough. Rival, of course, 5 strong players that have been together forever. And although AlphaJackal joined the squad a little bit later on, still has been a gigantic force behind them. Earlier this week, I got a chance to talk to AlphaJackal. Let's see what he had to say. Hey, what's up, AlphaJackal? Long time no see. F-Dot here. You guys are playing against SK Gaming this week. A little bit different than Team Dignitas that you fought last time around. With that said, SK looks a lot better with HalfDevil. How do you expect your matchup to go this time versus how you played them in the spring?
During the spring, during the spring split, we obviously noticed that they weren't as cohesive as they've been in the past. We were able to exploit that disjointment a bit more. But now with HalfDevil, obviously the synergy was there from the get-go with Funballer. They were looking a lot stronger recently, and that's shown in scrims as well. And we're going to have to adapt to that. We're going to have to make sure that we stick to our A game, because they're still a threat. They're still a tremendous team, but we do expect to come out on top.
And so I'm actually going to ask you to step away from your team. This is kind of an unorthodox question, but you're a coach and you have a good way of looking at the game. SK Gaming, I think they're working in the right direction. With that in mind, I mean, what's your forecast for this team in the summer split and beyond with this lineup?
During the summer split, I say they're going to take maybe 2 sets at most. But that sort of form is going to help them improve and help them increase going into the full split, where I imagine they're going to start making a push towards the mid-tier of the SPL.
That's definitely going to be pretty exciting. Now returning back to your own team, we've seen Deathwalker sort of be the guy leading the charge in the past, and now these days, I mean, iceicebaby is sort of elevated to be to become something all completely different. Rival has traditionally found success in playing as a unit, but is there something to be said about the individualism of your team as well?
The only thing that really comes to mind with individualism is that occasionally people are going to pop off for a few days. People are going to be feeling it. People are going to be playing extremely well. People are going to just get into the rhythm of the game more so than others. We've seen that with Thoth and Kalas destroying dual lanes left, right, and center recently. Deathwalker was playing extremely well throughout the entirety of Season 4. And Wolfy has forced raw bans upon raw bans upon raw bans.
You're a detail-oriented guy, so I have to tell you that Kalas and Vote can only kill dual lanes on the left and right side. That's never the center. Unless you're inventing a new meta. Is there something new that we're going to see?
Maybe.
Hey, man, definitely a lot of fun. Really excited. I guess last question. How do you expect to do versus SK?
Expect it to be a quick and clean 2-0.
That was confident yet kind of polite. Good for you, buddy. Great job. It's almost like you've done this before. Thanks a lot, AlphaJackal. Good luck in your games. We'll catch you next time.
Thank you very much.
AlphaJackal, a good guy to talk to. Fun guy.
Definitely. He's always very boisterous every now and then. Even when we're casting at Worlds, you could just tell the pressure that he had when his boys were in the finals, the semifinals. He's very emotionally invested in his team.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. Tolly and I casted, what do we do, semifinals?
Semifinals, right? Against Energy.
And Wolfy was sitting there, like, sort of right next to us. There's plenty of places for him to watch, but he was watching kind of over the shoulders of us, the commentators, and had his notebook there and taking a ton of notes. And really a big part of what makes Rival so incredibly successful. And another big part of that is this man right here. Wolfy has been questionable at times, very interesting, but what has never been questioned is his ability to bounce back. He's had some rough spots, Totally, but really able to find success afterwards.
You were telling the viewers at home during the interview how confident AlphaJackal was in his teammates, but Wolfy can be said to be the same, if not more confident, the way he kind of swaggers out with some of his picks, despite some of the faults that he had at the HRX finals against the United. He didn't let that bring him down. He's still grinding out the same exact gods that put him in that bad spot, so he's making these huge improvements, winning Spring off the back of a great performance.
Yeah, I mean, that was the biggest thing, was the story earlier in the year was at HRX. I mean, the missed Kraken, right? That almost lost them the whole game, the whole tournament. And then he comes back like the first couple of weeks of the Pro League and goes, I'm playing Poseidon. Screw everybody else. And I love that mindset. I think that mindset's so important if you're going to be one of the top players on one of the top teams. You got to have, as we say here in America, a quarterback's mentality. Play to play, game to game, and just, sort of learn from your mistakes, but certainly move on. And that's what we're going to do. SK Gaming across the way should be an interesting opponent. I say interesting because historically this team has not really been that strong, but recently we've seen them stand up.
They're definitely very volatile with whenever they succeed. You can see the brilliant moments from Faeles in the jungle being able to pop off. Ducky can definitely carry his team whenever necessary. He's played so much Kamazots in the past with like highlight plays, a lot of tier before in the past. I'll be interested to see if he does the same thing in the summer split with how the healing meta has kind of shifted back in, if Ducky is going to jump on that bandwagon or if he's going to stick to his own specific style.
I think you nailed the players to watch because Funballer and Lawbster have been consistent for me. Very rarely do I see a poor game out of Kieran or Emil, the Hunter and the mid laner respectively. And it's interesting. SK Gaming started the season with Badger, moved away from him. Did have Who the Best, but it was very clear that he was just a temporary replacement. And now HalfDevil stepping up from the minor league after a long 1 to 2 year hiatus, I think, from the game itself. Coming back, starting up in the minor league, and then coming into the pro league. That whole left side of the map, middle side of the map, I'm very confident in them. It's Faeles and it's Ducky that I really need to consistently perform for SK to be one of these top-end teams. And luckily for them, well, unluckily for them, they haven't found the W's quite yet, but luckily for them and their fans, watching them has been very exciting because I think we have seen that improvement.
I like the fact that you mentioned HalfDevil because it doesn't look like he skipped a beat since his time, or since his break rather, shifting into this set. His set against Obey Alliance, it was HalfDevil that at least helped his team get the one-game victory, not the whole set victory, when he played the Terra. If Rival doing their homework, I don't expect them to allow HalfDevil that opportunity again.
Certainly might also be looking at the Kumbhakarna Let's head into picks and bans real quick. SK Gaming versus Rival, who will have the first pick and the first ban. As far as ban predictions going, anywhere you're expecting to see something specific?
AlphaJackal always says that Wolfy's never getting his raw again. And SK probably going to ban that away. They don't really like that auxiliary range, especially when you're trying to make plays. When you have to deal with the slow and the blind from the raw, it's really obnoxious to deal with. But with the changes to Guan Yu and Xbalanque, maybe Wolfy will get his time in the sun.
Vote one of the stronger hunters in, not even in Europe, just one of the stronger hunters, and I end my statement there. Could be a little bit dangerous to give him Xbalanque with how strong that character is at the moment, but I'm not sure if that's exactly where SK's mind is at. They are going to ban out the Giannis above the Ra. Very odd there. So first round bans in Giannis and Guan by SK, and then no Zercat or the Achilles. But the Athena, first pick overall. And I love this choice, mainly because Kalas is a fantastic Athena, and so does HalfDevil, sure, but I think in this conversation, this is more just Kalas has a fantastic Athena.
That's true. Global Pressure is the name of the game in Season 5. Map being wider, you see more Giannis's, the Athenas. In Rival set against Dignitas, that was a highly contested pick, the Athena. So no surprise that Rival likes to go for that one immediately. Allows the Ron Xbalanque to go through. Now, if Rival really want to shut down HalfDevil, they should lock in a Terra and allow the Athena solo lane for Deathwalker.
Well, they're going to go with the Thoth so far, which works very well with Athena, one of the few characters that can combat Ra's long distance. And I'm going to touch on SK's two choices in a moment because I love them. Ratatoskr for likely the jungler. But Ra and Xbalanque, these are two of SK's stronger players. The veteran players on the squad get their choices, the hunter and the middle laner. And, you know, I need to ask Polar Bear Mike to sort of bump that tweet. He did a stream thing where he picked all of the players and the god that they're most known for, so to speak. And for me, I'm not sure if it's Agni or Ra for Lawbster. Both of those gods really come to mind when it comes to Lawbster.
It's very true. Every now and then I'll think of the Zeus for him.
Sure, yeah.
He likes his Zeus, but Terra was locked in for SK. The Xbalanque for Funballer is a good, aggressive style of his traditional roots. The way he used to play that dual lane was hyper-aggressive, and with the passive change to doing damage instead of needing the kills, you're going to be looking to be aggressive very early.
It's almost like Funball could have been in that balance meeting. That's really like what Funball wants to do. Also, shout-outs to Moex making his return to competitive Smite, playing in the minor league this split. Also, kind of the same mentality of a player. So, interesting stuff coming there. SK intelligently bans out the Odin, which would definitely counteract a lot of what they're doing here. All three characters would be locked in that ring. Sobek brings a lot of disruption. And then Rival, going to ban out what I think is absolutely so incredibly intelligent here. We mentioned keeping the Kumbhakarna out of the hands of HalfDevil, and even with Terra picked, Rival's a little bit cautious of that, sure. I'm looking at the Hun Bats, man. Faeles was the difference maker in the games that SK has won, and it's usually on the back of the party monkey. So I think this is just flat out black and white, the correct ban.
Kumbhakarna sketchy, but Hun Bats makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
There's just so much disruption you don't want to deal with. You take that off the table for Faeles. You're leaving him to pick a non-comfort pick, or at least not his number one comfort pick.
Exactly, because Faeles is a guy that, I've said this before, Faeles is a guy that's still up and coming. And although, sure, you might say maybe it's too much, or maybe it's been too long, he's a guy that's still warming into his spot. And he's starting to feel comfortable on the Hun Bats. I'll take that away and make him struggle a little bit more. Rival, on the other hand, the Athena, the Thoth, the Ratatoskr, the Artemis, and the Hercules. This is a really mid-game oriented squad with some late-game prowess by way of Artie and the Thoth. SK Gaming, on the other hand, I think the powerful players, the mid and the left side of the map, will have their strong picks. Could call it a Nemesis, yet to be determined. Looking at these drafts, give me not necessarily a prediction of who wins, but how the game's going to go, Toby.
It's going to be Kalas setting up Wolfy every time, and then you're going to see some boulders from Deathwalker every now and then.
Yeah. So you think the early, mid, and late game going to be all Rival?
Definitely. I mean, you still cover the late game option with the Artemis. You have the range from the Thoth. Crazy good setup from Athena. And as long as Deathwalker can mix it up with the best of them, then he's going to create the disruption that Rival need to win this game.
Rival's got the tools. Can they crack the case? That's what we're about to find out. Game number one. Let's go to the casters.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Toli. Finch and Taco here to bring you Rival up against SK. And SK have the double sustain there, but I don't know. Carlos on Athena, that's always scary if you're on the other side.
Carlos gets Athena, Wolfy gets Thoth.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's not only two guys that like Rival have already shown a lot of discipline and just knowledge using, but overall the team draft is just nasty from a range.
Wolfy deletes people with Thoth without Athena on his team all the time. So now you can add Athena into the mix. It already feels like it's just too easy for this guy, and I mean, I love it from Team Rival. They got a great comp, but so does SK, to be fair. I think both teams did a really good job drafting here, and it was sort of like what they were alluding to on the desk. Is the sustain comp going to do it, or like sort of this like bursty composition like around the Athena from Collis? Is that going to be too strong?
It is going to be complicated because I think that the main thing about Rival's composition is that they have the possibility to poke from a range, but at a certain point, depending on how SK's early laning phases go, will they be able to out-sustain some of the burst damage is the main concern. So Rival definitely need to have their execution on point, otherwise you're just going to turn into this war of attrition that I think is almost always going to favor the double healer comp.
Well, who do you think is going to win? You like more of SK's draft, or are you all fearing the Reaper from Team Rival? I know they got a lot of fans out there, so I wouldn't be surprised if it kind of skews their way. It tends to when those Rival boys are dressing up. I mean, everyone loves them, and I get it. They got a bunch of great personalities, right? Deathwalker, I mean, Ice, Wolfy, I mean,
it's hard not to
Yeah.
like those guys. They have a very boisterous personality even when they come to the studios. I think that they are one of the true teams that really likes to branch out there and constantly mingle in with a lot of the casters and just talking about their comps and everything. It's always fun getting their insight.
That's right. Sometimes, you sit down with them, and it's a little guarded at first maybe, but not with the Rival boys at all. They're like immediately opened up to you. And I think that the people at home definitely resonate with that energy from them. And I think it helps them as a team too. They're having fun when they play Taco all the time. When things go bad and some teams their comms might get quiet, not going to be the case for Team Rival.
I think that could be something that SK could also pull a page out of, though, because their team, while they might not necessarily be as rambunctious as the Rival guys, I am almost certain that their team environment is just as healthy. These guys have been together for quite some time, the only real new addition being HalfDevil here to the squad. And SK, they have a ton of player experience still to boast about. I mean, Lawbster, Funballer, these guys have been around the scene for quite some time. Remember when Ducky was first making his rookie year debut, and now he's really grown into this like SPL caliber solo laner. It's refreshing to see.
No, when you talk about player experience, you're exactly right, Taco. SK has a ton of it. I mean, I think Lawbster's player account number might be single digits or something like that. I mean,
easily first 500.
Right, it's an exaggeration, but I mean, Lawbster's like one of the oldest players in terms of how long he's been playing at that you could find. And SK have tons of experience, and Ducky and Faeles have been playing together forever. So have Lawbster and Funballer. Yes, they used to be on some different rosters, like on Orbit, and Ducky and Faeles were together for a while. I think it was on Dig, but now they're together, and they haven't had all the success, but they've got the pieces. They just got to get them lining up. And it's not an easy task up against Rival, because you want to talk about a unit that's stronger than the sum of its parts. That's Rival all over.
Well, I'm just really excited to see what happens in this dual lane also, because Vote versus Funballer, I think that's going to be the big thing to keep an eye on here. Funballer, of course, maybe going to have a little bit more of an impact during this earlier stages, because he can still provide some impact in the team fights with that Darkest Nine in comparison to Vote, who would have to physically be involved and might not necessarily be able to get those rotations going so early.
Well, already doing a good job here with this Terra going alongside the Xbalanque, but it's a lot of clear coming out from Collis and as well as Vote. Athena kind of has to step into the wave a little bit and use some of that health total sometimes, but she is able to help out quite a bit with the clear. And as expected, Rival is out in front in the fan vote. Not so much because the gap between these two teams is just that big, but Rival certainly are, fan favorites. But I think that it's not unfair to say Rival are expected to win this set.
Yeah, SK have definitely proven that they're able to hang with any team. Just about. It's more so closing out sets, and in comparison, I think that historically, Rival just has the benefit there.
Now, Taco, I want to ask you a little bit about Ice's relic selection. Going with an early meditation, not Blink, not Beads. I mean, we've seen Med be more popular in solo, but I mean, why is Ice picking this up?
Matching a little bit of that early game dive potential, perhaps. Nice taunt there out of Cal is going to prevent any further poke onto Vote. HalfDevil would have gotten an easy route there, and that could have funneled into some serious damage poke potential from Funballer.
Yeah, that really could have been problematic. Collis doing a good job making sure Vote's still able to stand tall here in the dual lane, where they're going to be able to back off. Nothing in the jungle up just yet, except perhaps Oracle. So now that everything's back to parity, they'll just kind of chill here in lane.
And going back to the Ratatoskr meditation question, though, I think it's partially because of the fact that Rat just doesn't have to leave the map sometimes. And speaking of which, iceicebaby trying to aggress a little bit against Ducky. Nice driving strike from
And the body
Deathwalker, going to get him
blocks.
so low. This could potentially be the first blood.
And the dash in from Ice Ice is going to do it. First blood over to Team Rival. And the pull onto Faeles. He should be out at this point, but already the damage is done. Ducky does have teleport. He will be right back to this tower if he elects to use it, but already a big win for Rival.
I don't think Ducky was expecting that level of damage from the driving strike below. The perfect body block also left
Yes.
Faeles doing nothing but being able to watch because he'd already used the slice and dice, and it's not over just yet. iceicebaby with another one in the mid lane, and there's the meditation effect that we were waiting for.
Yeah, helping to keep everybody topped off. Red buff being looked at, but already dropped by SK Gaming. And you should not be surprised. iceicebaby and Collis both, I feel like, have reached a new level in their play recently. These two are playing at such a high level, and Ice Ice putting it on display right from the beginning.
Ice Ice still looking for more in that duo lane. He's had 2 kills already, and Funballer's wary. He just saw him in the mid lane area, so he knows that there's some potential here to possibly be getting ganked. I think that's why we see him positioning with so closely towards the wall. That way if Ice Ice does come forward, a Rising Jaguar should get him out of danger.
He is going to go grab those oracles and let Wolfy farm alone in the mid wave, unlike Faeles and Lawbster, who kind of split that wave there for a little while. So that's going to help those two out, getting some farm on their own. Vote actually making the rotation over to left. Harpies to split these with Ice Ice along with Collis. So some splitting we don't always see between the jungle and the hunter.
Even though it's not necessarily ideal to 3-man split those mid Harpies, it's still worth the rotation for Vote because Funballer's splitting the wave alongside of HalfDevil, meaning
Yes.
that he's already not getting the same amounts of experience in comparison to Vote, who Collis is just leaving to his own devices. I like this from Collis, though, on the Athena, because it's one of the main bonuses of having Athena. Defender of Olympus can get you to your ADC if necessary, but otherwise you're just left to help set up your team with taunts all across the map.
It's part of why we see Athena solo do so well, because you can use the Defender of Olympus and also teleport back to lane as Vote does get aggressed on, drops down the trap, and now Collis is right back in, taunted, back into the suppress the insolent, and Vote able to get the kill on a HalfDevil, yet another kill for Rival, and Wolfy's here, evade and punish, just needs a glyph to set up, but they can't make it to the darkest of nights.
Nice patience there by Funballer too, holding that Darkest Night until he knew for sure that he would absolutely have to use it. Even if he dropped it for HalfDevil, HalfDevil having walked into the trap would have meant that he couldn't have escaped either way. Athena is going to grab you with a taunt no matter what.
Red buff invade though is on. iceicebaby is able to come drop that for Team Rival, and Faeles might even be in a little bit of trouble as Ice Ice came to join Collis for the purple buff invade. Looks like that might have been successful as well. Team Rival, no, it looks like HalfDevil was able to get that one, so they're gonna be able to pick it up. But they did strip away the red and get the kill in that dual lane as well.
And red buff, Wolfy isn't even interested in picking it up so much as he was interested in getting the experience for it.
That's right.
Even if you don't pick up that buff, it's still just nice to have the timer. It also poses a threat constantly towards SK in that they can't feel very comfortable looking to pick up their own red. You don't know if Ice Ice is going to try to ult you maybe with that through the Cosmos, and potentially even having Collis drop on top with him.
That's right. It's hard to believe, but having the actual buff around them is almost the least important thing of that buff invade at this point. I mean, they really are trying to strip that farm away from Lawbster, away from Faeles. It's part of building up that lead. Picking up the buff itself is nice, yes, but not necessary at all.
All things considered, though, both the side lanes for SK have, in a sense, lost their lanes. And I think that Faeles has done a great job at making sure he can keep up in terms of experience for Ice Ice. He hasn't seemed to fallen too far behind for levels. Gold could be another underhand factor, but we haven't seen iceicebaby back to base yet even, and so I wouldn't be surprised if he's just waiting until he has full item gold. Speaking of which, HalfDevil going in aggressively one more time, going to get taunted out and controlled. It's going to be his second death for the Terra.
Even with Earth and Fury, it's just not enough. Taco dash, taunt into the boar and the trap is just too much control. And now there's more problems. Ducky gets knocked up. The boulder comes in. Deathwalker finds that kill. Fails to rise. A little bit too late to help the solo laner survive. And Lawbster forced to ult just to keep the blue buff on their side.
Dropping it for XP over anything else, but with Lawbster not having that Searing Pain available, that means that the red buff should go in favor of Rival one more time. Funballer, seeing if he can maybe help out. Already ate a decent amount of poke up from that Suppress the Insolent. It's the slow, more importantly, that is annoying to deal with, but nice job by HalfDevil to still secure the red buff.
That's right, yeah, just came over and dropped that wall. That was all that it took, but We're starting to see a bit of why this team rival can be so difficult to stop, because they're just winning their matchups, Taco, right? It's just Vote and Collis beating HalfDevil and Funballer in the 2v2 just now with the dash taunt. It's just Deathwalker and Ice beating Ducky Faeles in the 2v2 in the solo jungle. It's not so much that they're making big rotations and you can punish them elsewhere. They're kind of just beating you straight up.
And that's what's posing the real problem for SK, in that when you're already losing the laning matchups, what's going to make the team fight so different? If anything, that just means more targets for the board to spread to, more members to have their beats pulled away from them because of the taunts by Callus. And Ducky, who was probably meant to be more of the initiating factor for SK, probably going to have to sit on the back burner. The problem now SK have to try and deal with is, how do you initiate, period? They're going to have to rely solely on counter ganks.
Yeah, that's how it feels like to me. When Rival go in aggressive, they're going to have to make sure that they respond, particularly around this red buff. If Rival are going to send 2 people up there, then bring 4 to defend it, perhaps. You know, if you see Collis coming in and you know he's going to be ulting over a Defender of Olympus, try and respond in bigger numbers, as Ice gets caught going in the jungle, but is able to make it right up to the tree. In fact, Final Judgment being charged, but Ice not willing to come back in, and instead just going to fall back.
He was thinking about it. He had Wolfy for the support, Collis there as well. His meditation was down, though, for a few seconds longer, so baiting might not have been as easy if you're already dead.
Ice build is very interesting. Mystical Mail is going to be the second item for the jungle Ratatoskr. I mean, this is not the way that we normally see him built.
It just reminds me of Captain Twig, back when Captain Twig was on his... Hold that thought, actually. Deathwalker in a lot of trouble now. Great response out of Faeles and Ducky, even using the Darkest Night, but Deathwalker still staying alive through it all.
With Ice making the rotation, Faeles is going to get punished for it. That's the Defender of Olympus. That's the Ratatoskr being able to come over to the solo lane and punish when Deathwalker is able to survive. Great use of the boulder to avoid getting controlled, and now they're going to invade this blue buff yet again.
Rough stuff, though, for Faeles, because while he was able to keep up before, and now that he's been the one to actually fall, he's sitting at a 2-level deficiency in comparison to Ice, and Ice is only building even more tanky. Wouldn't be surprised if this turns into an Anquile, mostly because of the fact that the silence could play a heavy part in preventing HalfDevil from connecting a lot of that CC that he might normally be looking for.
Especially when he dives on the backside, to be able to potentially get the silence to spread on the back end of the team fight could be a pretty big deal for Ice, but he's not the only one making some unique build choices. Collis going a little bit selfish, goes right into the Hide of the Urchin, as opposed to some of the aura items we typically see, like Sovereignty coming out for HalfDevil.
I like this Hide of the Urchin pickup because he rushed its second item when Rival are already leading 6-0. So Athena having the ability to global rotate means that he should be getting credit for a lot of the picks that are happening.
Yes.
And it's only going to add into the protections. SK clearly struggling as is to find ways to take out some of the tankier members. Speaking of which, Faeles not winning this trade against iceicebaby.
No, not at all. He's going to have to fall back away from this one, especially with that Mystical Mail ticking, because that is what Ice has elected to go in this path. But to talk about that Hide of the Urchin, it's certainly like a win more type move, isn't it? If you just go Sovereignty, then yes, your build's ahead, but you haven't like gained a big advantage. Hide of the Urchin's a way to cheaply get some protection, and then because you're getting a lot of kills, it starts to build up to even more value later on. It's a great call from Collis since they're so far ahead.
If Collis is able to have even 6 stacks in this item by the 20-minute mark, he'll have more than enough bang for your buck. He's already looking to get one of them on Lawbster. Lawbster using those purification beats, seeing Deathwalker at the last minute, and I love the Darkest Night immediately out of Funballer.
Might be trouble for Vote here, though. 3 members with Ducky making a rotation all the way over to Duo. Great job using the ultimate to get away from the stun, but the trap is just too good. Vote survives the 1v3 gank.
The red buff is what SK are trying to defend, though, and this is what you're asking for earlier, Finch. If they're going to send only 2 people, throw some more bodies at it. Sway Rival away from your buffs and protect those, because that's how you regain control of the map.
That's right. It's you get them to make an investment and then punish them for that investment. That's part of the way that you can start to regain. It's just that the bigger the lead gets for Rival, the harder it is to make that punish. And that's why Rival kind of keep posing the question. They keep making that challenge. Can SK rise to it? And so far, it has been no. Rival have kind of been able to do whatever they want across the map.
Wolfy rushing the Divine Ruin might have seemed a little bit odd if it wasn't for the fact that SK are trying to utilize this raw Terra double healer composition.
Right.
I love the Divine Ruin rush on Thoth, because while it might hurt your damage a little bit in the early game, it's so early on that that won't have as much of an impact. towards the overall gameplay, and the outcome in these team fights is going to become even more difficult for SK to handle. Funballer now the target of even more aggression. Obviously you use those purification beads, but it's all about taking down Vote.
They recognize he doesn't have the ultimate available. Funballer is getting those autos through with the branching bolas. Could potentially be trouble. Darkest Night sets it up. Funballer finds the first kill for SK. Can't take down Collis, but at the very least wins the 2v1, but might be in trouble now with iceicebaby making the rotation. Uses beads to get through that wall stun, but Rising Jaguar just too good with the root coming out from HalfDevil.
He's just got to get close, and Athena's already trying to make the rotation back in. Defender of Olympus is going to buy him some time, but Wlfy can't connect onto Funballer. He'll live to see another day.
Wow, what a play there from SK Gaming. And HalfDevil and Funballer have kind of been getting slapped for 13.5 minutes. And to still come in to take that 2v2 fight and win it with that Xbalanque play from Funballer, excellent.
That play, all on the back of HalfDevil, though. He held the root for so long, refusing to dash until Ice had already used his first ability on the dash. And that was just the perfect catch out of the root.
And just barely caught him. I think it was like right at the edge of that root too. So just perfect placement from HalfDevil as well. And that's part of what we mean when we say experienced. You know, we say things like experience, like pressure, some of these catch-all words. But when you're getting kind of just handled for 13.5 minutes and you can still recognize where your power spikes are, where your opportunities are, when you can capitalize the way that SK obviously can, that's a big sign of that experience. Now, can they continue to capitalize as they look for this gank on the solo side on the Ducky?
I think Ice just wanted the farm there. He was being a bit obvious about his positioning, so Ducky, very likely that he saw him from a distance.
Sure.
And Deathwalker now, been playing on this T1 tower line for so long. Doesn't have any wards on his side of the map either, so I don't think he's very concerned about Faeles trying to gank him after that first failed one.
They might be concerned about this Gold Fury, though. Sounds like Vote is nearby. They've got Wolfy make the rotation. They're going to drop the boar, and the boar appears to be trapped. Final Judgment off the mark as they reset the Gold Fury. Now they're coming back to pull it again. Earth and Fury has been dropped, but they're continuing to drop it as Faeles comes on the backside and finds Wolfy.
But it's not over just yet. iceicebaby's going to go crashing down, but he just lands in the center of 3 people. Doesn't actually connect with anyone, so no knockups to be had. Deathwalker finally rotating over, going to throw out the boulder, and it's going to be Funballer.
Able to bring everyone right back in as Collis. That's going to force out the Aegis, but a 2-man stun comes out from the driving strike. HalfDevil now in trouble. The root lands from Ducky and into the Mez, coming out with a war cry, but now the trap is just too good. Vote should be able to find the shots here, and Collis gets credit. Gold Fury very likely going to go over to Rival if they've won that fight 2-for-1.
Wasn't as clean as what they probably would have wanted, but the fact that Rival were able to force SK to releash this Gold Fury, I think 2 or 3 separate times. First they drop it because Wolfy's charging and releasing the final judgment. Then they accidentally release it when Lawbster's trying to drop his Searing Pain. Now Faeles trying to be the hero that SK needed, but not the one that they deserve. Ends up only finding Callus in the process because Gold Fury's been returned to Rival.
Looks like Lawbster might have split the uprights there with that ultimate as the meditation paying dividends here for Team Rival. Maybe it really is to try and keep up with this sustain that's coming out from SK, but either way, they get the Gold Fury. They do have to give up Collis. I think overall it really was a 2-for-2, but the Gold Fury goes the way of Team Rival. They force SK back when they were the ones aggressing and are now in a position up 8-3 in the kills to try and find another objective.
I feel like even if Rival win with the meditation Ratatoskr, this isn't something that we see iceicebaby repeating, because Blink is such a staple item on so many junglers in terms of just being able to strike fear of a gank, and you just don't have that same sort of effect with the meditation. I like that Rat still has it through the Cosmos, so this could just be an exclusion case or an exceptional case.
Like an exception, yeah.
And it still just seems a little bit odd, but I like that he built Tanky alongside of it.
Right. iceicebaby has kind of gone in on as like this sort of initiator for their team, like another frontline element, and really relying on Wolfy and Vote to be that damage for them. He has plenty of it since he is ahead, level 16, 3-0-3, but he also can be kind of tanking the backline and kind of bait himself as Lawbster's now in trouble. Collis here, Final Judgment isn't quite enough, and Ice is off with the ultimate, but it's just too much of a commitment. Lawbster had nowhere to go.
Even through the darkest night, Team Rival don't have any issues running Lawbster down, and this raw pick, I like it, But at the same time, it's so hard for SK to actually peel for Lawbster.
And now it could be trouble. Ice has to dash away. The wall was perfect to catch him off. They drop down the ultimate. Defender of Olympus is being used, but it's just too late. HalfDevil is going to bring Ice down, but Pyromancer is taken in return by Rival. Deathwalker wants to continue aggressing past the tier 1.
I think you forgot about that creep wave for a second there, as they're going to effectively body block him off. Tusky has been out, and HalfDevil's going to be the first casualty, but all eyes on Deathwalker as he's been controlling 2 in the back end.
Ducky takes the boulder right to the face and has to jump away. Funballer is rotating on the backside. Poison darts hits everyone. Rising Jaguar doesn't go in for the damage, and Wolfy is off with the evading punish, but they still have taunt. Beads come out there as Faeles ends up dropping to Deathwalker on the right-hand side.
And notice how Funballer doesn't run straight into the T2 because he's fully expecting Deathwalker to look for the cutoff. Deathwalker just pounding him with these auto attacks, waiting for the driving strike, isn't going to find it because of a nice Rising Jaguar out of Funballer.
I can't believe Funballer has made it out of this one alive, but he is going to be able to escape back towards the tier 2 tower. Deathwalker, unafraid of anyone on the map right now. He's kind of doing whatever he wants at 2-0-4. Has the Pestilence already, so that's helping out with the anti-heal, giving him plenty of magic defense. I don't know who can step to him right now. He's even top damage.
That was also a fight, keep in mind, that SK were focused purely on the Pyromancer, so iceicebaby ends up getting picked off. They didn't have that Athena ultimate for quite some time either, and by the time they used it, it was onto Ice who died, so that was just a burn cooldown of damage mitigation that could have been applied to a different member from Rival.
But I really do love the builds that we're seeing from Rival here as they end up, as that fight does kind of, at least in terms of what they did for Ice didn't quite work out, but I mean, Collis is being real greedy. Hide the Urchin into Gauntlet of Thebes, third item. The more anti-heal from Ice with the Brawlers, Beatstick, and the Divine Ruin Rush. They really are trying to shut down everything SK want to do.
Collis is just tired of constantly having to save his boys. This time he's ready to be the star of the show. I like it. I think that you can afford to play this greedy on Athena, or build this greedy on Athena when you're having the same sort of rotational speed as Collis.
Yeah, he's everywhere on the map right now, Talker. You're exactly right. And you were talking to me before we even came in here about how much you feel like Collis himself has improved, perhaps even the most on this Rival roster, and we're seeing it. I mean, 1-1-6, he's setting up everything for the team, and even to the point now where he'll build for himself.
Okay, I can't be the only one that thought they were about to fight right there.
Oh, they looked like they wanted to.
I swear it looked like they were ready to fight on that. Not at the T1 necessarily, but like right in front of the T2 as Rival were retreating. I was so prepared for somebody from SK to go in, and then they're just like, nah, we just chilling on this T2. But yeah, going back to what you were saying, when I was talking to you about the Collis thing, that glow up has felt a little surreal because I think most people used to only credit Collis as that like one-trick Fafnir player.
Right.
It's like, oh, well, you ban Fafnir, you ban Rival successfully. But then it turned into not just being the Fafnir. Then he started picking up the Athena, picking up the Capris, the Gebs, and started to flex pick into the Ares. And we're like, whoa, we've never really seen this sort of side of Collis before. And I just think it's awesome when you get to effectively watch players develop over time.
And that's what we're starting to see here with Collis and this entire Rival squad. And to be honest, they kind of need it here, at least at the start of the summer split. We're still at the very beginning, but Rival haven't gotten off to the best start. I mean, they've had some very tough competition, but I think they're sitting at 1-2 right now. They need to be able to come in and grab set victories like this one up against SK. And right now, they're looking clean enough to be able to get it done. HalfDevil not going to be caught there as Vote is able to take the goal for your left-hand side. No one from SK even in that zip code.
Kind of surprised too, because SK, it's not that they've been hardcore losing each of these fights, it's more so just been their target focus has gone towards like Ice and Deathwalker, and these guys are just a little bit too tanky for you to sufficiently punish time and time again. So I think that if they started looking more towards Wolfy, more towards Vote, they've found kills on them already by isolating them, and that's really what it's going to come down to. But the question is, can Faeles fluidly work his way into their backline and still manage to live to tell the tale?
Yeah, to your point, Taco, I think the laning phase went 6-1 to Rival in terms of kills, and so since then it's really kind of been 5-3, much closer than it looks as Ducky gets pulled back in. Does have that Spear Mortal Pain available, but Wolfy's going to continue with the damage, finds the evade and punish. Ice is making the rotation in. Collis has the dash available as well, but Ducky's quite tanky at this point. Taunts him right back in, and there's the evade and punish. It's just too much when Rival 4-man swing over to solo.
But there's just no one there to help out Ducky. I mean, that chase started at like where the 2-1 tower used to be, and it fed all the way up the left-hand or the right-hand lane, and no one from SK even there to remotely try and respond. Like, even now, as we speak, the Fire Giant being taken for free.
Yeah, take a look where Lawbster and HalfDevil are. They're in the tier 1 tower in mid lane. No one is going to contest this. This is very free going over to Team Rival. And ordinarily, I'd say it's not so free a turn, but this time SK kind of aren't there to defend it. I mean, they are down a lot, and maybe they don't feel like they can take that fight. But it's not going to be any easier against the Fire Giant squad, especially because there's tons of gold still on the map. 3 tier 2 towers for Rival to go bring down.
I don't think that SK, if they weren't willing to defend the Fire Giant, there's no chance that they try to defend these T2s either.
I agree.
It's mostly going to be all about the Phoenix defense, but a behind healer composition trying to defend their Phoenixes from arguably one of the best siege gods in the game, the Thoth, it's not going to be an easy task.
Now iceicebaby going into the Winged Blade to try and get away from these slows from SK, and I think in particular from Faeles. That's such a strong item into Nemesis. Any kind of slow immunity is, because she relies so heavily on it. I'm fascinated with this Ice build. I love it, Taco. Not going, you know, your traditional damage Ratatoskr build or even damage jungler. A lot of junglers are just building damage now. Even some of the tankier ones like Robin. Ice though, that's not what he's trying to be. He's got the Mystical Mail, the Ankylo, the Winged Blade, and trust that he's going to have plenty of damage coming from Wolfy vote. And he's still doing plenty himself. He's 3rd on his team, 4th in the game overall.
He's got to keep up the pressure though, because I think that if he wants to effectively help his team get back into this one, player damage is a great place to start, but it's mostly just about combining their kits together.
Is that a last item hide of the Urchin? From iceicebaby?
Sometimes you just know. If you're far enough ahead, I mean, SK have not tried to fight into Rival once. There was like 2 odd engagements that I want to say SK were all grouped up for, and they ended up losing overall to Rival. So that could have maybe affected the way that SK are viewing this game right now. Yeah, maybe looking towards the next match.
That might be the case. I mean, Rival are so far ahead right now for it to be only 25 minutes into the game, and it appears to be the call is this duo side Phoenix. They've left the 2 with the global ultimates, Ice and Collis, to push in mid, and they can join this at any time if they feel the need. Wlfy finds the stun, the Funballer chunks him a good bit for free before they even start the engagement.
Wlfy still taking huge swings out of HalfDevil even. He's supposed to be the support. He's going to launch that final judgment and claim the life of HalfDevil in the process. All the while, Vote tossed out the board. It's Ducky who's getting taken out for the secondary by Wolfy.
Now Ice comes in and finds Funballer on the back end. Phoenix falls as well. Lawbster could be in a whole heap of trouble. He does have the Aegis, but Wolfy's there for the triple kill out of the mid lane. Only Faeles still standing. 5 members barreling into the Titan room. I think Team Rival have found their way to take game 1 over SK. And even with that double sustained comp, it never got to come to fruition. Rival take the game.
Wolfy just had to get the unofficial quadra before letting this one go down. And Rival, I mean, that was just clean. From the start to finish, you want to start strong, and people always say you want to finish strong too. I think Rival just performed the perfect example of that.
Is middle strong the thing? Because they did that too. I mean
it didn't look like they had a weak point in the match at all.
Yeah, they might not even have had a middle. They just started and then it was over. It was like Rival really kind of ran away with that one, but it was them playing their team comp so well. Between the Ratatoskr, between the Athena, they were always outnumbering SK. They started off so well in that game and they kind of never let up on that pressure. But for you all there in Mixer Chat, who was your MVP for that game? Go ahead and vote for us in the poll.
And that's going to be a hard one to choose too, because this is one of those special circumstances, I think, where we've seen it before in the past. Teams that haven't necessarily had an individual performance stick out so much as it was everyone's collective grouping and their collective teamwork that ended up being the real superstar.
Well, we'll see if the desk maybe has any opinions on it. They don't get any votes, though. Only Mixer Chat gets to vote. So we'll at least get their opinions on that one. The desk, though, is standing by.
Rival's got all the vote I need. Fantastic stuff out of the Hunter and the rest of the squad. Rival come out on top above SK Gaming for now. Still have a couple more Smite games to be played, depending on how SK turns up. Totally, what was your take?
There was a lot of good plays from everyone from Rival. Vote surviving in the 1v3. Actually bought enough time for Deathwalker to find multiple blue buff invades. The pressure that iceicebaby applied with his Ratatoskr, even going for a mystical male, was a good look considering that he ganks the solo lane in the blue buff before level 5. He rotates in mid lane afterwards, still before the global pressure is applied, and he's just making the impact for his team. Just a lot of alleviation there, allowing Wolfy to go ham.
Yeah. Perfect setup for the rest of the squad. I mean, Wolfy got to just absolutely perform exactly the way the mid lane needs to.
And with Wolfy playing the Thoth, the way he was able to just follow up from Callus, from iceicebaby, even picking up the early Divine Ruin, just a hard counter, Lawbster's Raw. Rival were firing on all cylinders.
Anytime you allow, I feel like Wolfy wants to pick that Divine Ruin. It gives you the early penetration that you're lacking, especially if you're going into the blue boots instead of the purple, right? There's a lot of reasons to want to go into the Divine Ruin. So if you're going to pick a healer across the way, Wolfy's like, okay,
yep.
I get to buy what I want to buy. But to step away from Wolfy a little bit, iceicebaby, the MVP. I'm with the casters. I think this was a full, just flat-out team victory. The folks at home say, iceicebaby.
The way he was able to just help all his lanes out is why Rival were able to get such a great early game lead, and why they were able to build defensive, or why iceicebaby built defensively, going for the mystical mail, going for the Oncule, and then eventually feeling so confident that he goes for the height of the urchin.
Yeah, just knowing that his team is going to take multiple fights, and that's what it is. Sure, you might get a kill, you might get an assist, but it's knowing that your team is just going to engage in multiple team fights, and then whether or not you wind up on the top, of course, at that point they were going to be on the top. You can just sort of use those the action to amp that up.
I think.